Inviting once again Engineer Bassey Rex. He will be giving us a keynote speech. He is the Chief Executive Officer, Free Synergy and Infrastructure Limited, and founder Equiona Refinery Limited. Once again, thank you very much, sir. It's always good to have you on the podium.
It's actually a presentation, not a keynote speech, so I don't mind if they can put the slide up so that people can see exactly the presentation I'm giving.
All right, sir, we would appreciate if you can keep to time. You have 15 minutes, but we'll love it so much if you can give us 10. We'll appreciate it 100%.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. Okay, myself, Engr Bassey Rex, virtually introduce myself. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm currently pursuing a lot of businesses in the gas industry. All right, straight up. Now, we talked about African refining and petrochemical landscape. Of course, we all know that we own about 620 trillion cubic feet of a proven natural gas. We've said it times over time that we're a gas nation. But in trying to look at the global transition of accelerating this natural gas in Africa, not just Nigeria, we have to look at the industrial growth and energy security. We also have to look across the continent, how we domesticate that huge demand of not depending on imported products. So let's do it home country here. Next slide, please. I have to be fast about this. The abundant thing there, the question is, how can Africa convert gas abundance into transformative industrial value? That's a question we need to think about. That's a question for us. Next slide, please. Okay, that's a typical natural gas, the catalyst for an industrial transformation. You could see that people talk gas. Gas is also a feedstock. For me, it is the economic transformation, Africa growth, feedstock, and industry. That is the key catalyst for industrial transformation. Next slide. So the opportunities for African industrialization, we can see that it's a growing market. The demand for fuel, fertilizers, and plastics in this continent is really high. We all know that. Today, if you think gas, I believe you think the future. We cannot be dependent on only oil when we are more of a gas nation. So we need to begin to think strategically the advantages of African location. We should be exporting rather than importing. So we have to look at Africa also as a hub where we can co-locate both in gas businesses. We can look at the possibility of, looking at the cost implication and creating jobs. People are talking about oil, oil, oil. We are not an oil nation, we're a gas nation. So investment of gas should be priority. Investment catalyst. With the African Energy Bank, yes, we are beginning to coordinate and talk about gas. But we also need to know that it's not only gas. Gas can also have other fractional products where you talk about fertilizers, you talk about petrochemicals. I mean, these are areas that we need to begin to stamp our feet because we have the capacity. Next slide, please. Now, somebody would have to look at the key barriers to this growth. Of course, we've discussed about the infrastructure gaps. We've talked about the market risks. We've also talked about policies that's inconsistency. The policy framework has to be right, especially between our government. We need to begin to set up incentives that will entice people to do more in gas. We have to look at the financial constraints, which we are happy that African Energy Bank is coming to play, and the technology gaps. Those technology gaps of trying to borrow a technology that you can do right here in your country. We have all the expertise. Next, please. Now, the strategic pathways to transformation. I love this part. Someone needs to start looking at developing a gas-based industrial hub. Somebody talked about, how do we do this? Is it just Nigeria? It's Africa. In the Western world, they are all leaving oil and pursuing cleaner energy, renewable energy. But I want to borrow the word that Donald Trump said. I'm not his fan. I don't want to go politically. He said, drill, baby, drill. For me, for gas, is drill, gas, drill. Let us have the mindset of strengthening our regional infrastructure. I've mentioned it. We look at a situation where private and public sectors come together and partner. That will also promote local content innovation, which I believe that the NCDMB is, a lot of country envy Nigeria on that part. NCDMB is doing a great job on that part, encouraging people to participate, to be at the front runner, to also show that Nigeria has got the capacity, which means that humans, we shall talk about job opportunity, human capacity development. Please, next slide. Now, financing gas-based industrial projects. Blending financial models. That's what I just talked about, combining the public, private equity and developing financial institutions. Now, we have talked about African Energy Bank for a long while. Let's put it in our mind that it is Africa Energy Bank, not Nigeria Energy Bank. Meaning that other African countries will have interest to draw from that bank. So PPP is a key element to this. We also have to look at the local capital markets. You mobilize pension funds, sovereign wealth funds for industrial gas investment. You barely have that in Nigeria. When you talk about, trying to gazette funds to give to entrepreneurs, everybody runs now to NCDMB. But the news is now bright. It's not only NCDMB. You still have the NMDPRA. There are lots of gas funds in Nigeria as we speak today. A lot of people are beginning to tap on that. So we encourage, like those that are in the brownfield, to still expand and make use of this funding. We look at the risk mitigation tool, using guarantees, long-term gas supply contract, and currency hedge fund. These could also, be a showstopper if we do not utilize the funds in country. So we have to look at a transparent framework where all funds that is being given can be paid back. I'm aware that NCDMB, I'm mentioning them because I've benefited, will give funds to people that are intending to do projects, but how do they pay back? Some would want to say, NCDMB, I would give this, but at the end of the day, these are funds that has to be paid back. The same model, I believe, would work in the African Energy Bank. Please, next slide. Nigeria as a model for gas-led industrialization. Of course, we have always been leaders in the industry, in Africa, even as the global stage. There is nowhere you will not find in Nigeria telling you how Nigerians hold about 200 TCF, how we are capable on doing a lot of projects. Today we have the decade of gas. There are a lot of projects ongoing. In fact, I'm one of those people that are looking at putting up a CNG plant around the country. Today we have power gas as a model. They do CNG. We were thinking of, combustion reaction and all those stuff. No, people get scared that you cannot truck gas. It's happening. NIPCO is doing it. Power gas is doing it. People are trucking gas all the way from Port Harcourt to Akwa Ibom. So we should shorten those by creating CNG hubs around different locations to cut off all these power shortage infrastructure. I see us by 2030, we should be able to power Nigeria. We have all it takes. We do have all it takes. Next slide, please. African energy perspective and contribution. My engineer is not here, Engineer Tangord. He is an expert on this front-end engineering and research development, which he has been talking about. I thought we saw on the slide the Institute of Energy bank that they are, the energy hub that they are already setting in my, when I see my presidential uniport, I was so impressed. I didn't know about that. But when I saw it, I mean, I was excited, very, very excited about it. So these are integrated solutions that one can begin to look at. You can do your engineering design here in Nigeria. You can also implement that, meaning that everything that we need is in country. So collaboration with those centers will be a key factor. Next slide, please. From resources to prosperity. That's the key message. Let us begin to look at gas. As African gas transformation is not a dream, it is a decision. A decision that the continent of Africa must use to transform our resources, what we have on ground. The journey requires strategic partnership, like I mentioned before, innovative financing, and sustainable execution. You don't just bring up a project, you're being given fund, you do not execute the project, that means you discourage the hub that is providing this fund. So together, we can build Africa. The power itself, the world, is our responsibility. Let us think gas, let us think the future. Next, please. In conclusion, Africa, natural gas power through industrial growth. Meaning that with the right policies, investments, and collaboration, the continent can move from resources of export of value creation to time to act now. Thank you very much, and God bless.